Whether notating pitch or time, both are notated on what is known as the staff. The staff is simply 5 lines and 4 spaces in between the lines. When there is more than one staff present, we call these staves. Each individual staff is still made up of 5 lines and 4 spaces. To notate pitch, noteheads are used. Noteheads are these oval or egg-shaped symbols written either on a line or in a space. Be careful not to mistake noteheads in spaces for noteheads on lines. This is an easy mistake to make because notes in the space can look like they're sitting on a line. But notes that are on the line will have the line going through the notehead. The noteheads represent the pitch. As the noteheads move higher, the pitch will go higher. As the noteheads move down, the pitch will become lower. To identify or name a pitch, we label the pitch using a letter from the musical alphabet. The musical alphabet does not use all of the letters of the normal alphabet. The musical alphabet consists of the letters A through G. It's important to become comfortable saying the musical alphabet both forward and backwards. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Saying the musical alphabet backwards can be a challenge at first, but with a little practice it can become very easy, and it's important that you become comfortable with it early on. Although the letters of the musical alphabet end with the letter G, to continue, you simply start back at A again, and repeat the letters as many times as necessary. If working backwards through the alphabet, you would start the letters at G and work backwards through the alphabet from G to A. This can also be repeated as many times as necessary. It's important to remember that when you see a notehead written on the staff, it represents a pitch. That pitch is then identified with a letter from the musical alphabet. When reading normal music, you will not be seeing actual letters written on the noteheads. However, as we continue through the lesson, I will be using noteheads that have letters attached. This is for teaching purposes only and for convenience to make my explanations a little easier to understand. In order to know which letter the notehead represents, we have to start with what is known as a clef. This is the G Clef. The G Clef is a symbol that is supposed to look like an old-fashioned letter G. The G Clef tells you where the G note is on the staff. When a notehead is written on the second to bottom line, that would represent a G note. We know this because the symbol forms an X or crosshair shape with the second line from the bottom. This bullseye, or X marks the spot, will tell you that this is the letter G. So any notehead written on this line would represent the G note. Once the location of the G note is established, the other letters will go in alphabetical order from the bottom up. This would make the bottom line the letter E, and then the letters would descend from there from one line to the space, to the next line, to the next space, and so on. There is more than one clef used in music, so when using another clef, the letters represented by the lines and spaces will change. This is why it is important for you to check which clef you're reading to be sure that you're using the right letters on the right lines and spaces. When reading the noteheads, there's a common shortcut that is used to make identifying the letters much faster. The fastest way to identify a letter in the spaces when reading the G Clef is to think of the word face. The letters of the spaces, starting on the bottom and going up, will spell out the word face. F, A, C, E. When trying to quickly identify a letter on a line, the letters do not create a word, so we use a sentence. The most common sentence to use is every good boy does fine. That would make the letters starting on the bottom line and moving up E, G, B, D, F. Here's what we call the grand staff. The grand staff is actually two staves connected with a bracket. The top staff contains the G clef, and the bottom staff contains a different clef. The reason the G clef is on the top staff is because it is also known as the treble clef. It is known as the treble clef because the staff containing the treble clef will also contain the high-sounding notes. Treble meaning high. And remember, the higher the note heads get on the treble staff, the higher each individual pitch will become. The clef written on the bottom staff, or bass staff, is known as the bass clef. This is because it contains the low-sounding notes, bass meaning low. The bass clef is also known as the F clef, because it tells you where the F note is on the bass staff. It is supposed to look like an old-fashioned letter F. The symbol creates two round dots that surround the second from top line. This represents the letter F, which means any note head written on the second to top line is an F note. Once we have the F line established by the clef, the letters will continue in alphabetical order from the bottom up, which makes the bottom line of the bass staff G, and then continues forward from line to space to line to space, and so on. The shortcut to reading notes just in the spaces when reading the bass clef is to think of the sentence, all cows eat grass. This will make the bottom space the letter A, and then continue every other letter, A, C, E, G. The sentence to remember to quickly identify notes on the lines would be good boys do fine always. That will make the bottom line the letter G. Then we'll continue through the musical alphabet, every other letter, G, B, D, F, A. Because the musical alphabet can repeat, and repeat as many times as necessary, often there are not enough lines and spaces on the staff to contain all the notes of the music. This is where we use what are known as ledger lines. Ledger lines are lines you write in as needed to contain notes when the staff lines and spaces run out. Ledger lines can be used both above the staff or below, and as many can be used as necessary. It's important to point out that you do not add ledger lines until there's going to be a note on that line. Notes written above a ledger line or below a ledger line represent spaces automatically. Note heads written on ledger lines will continue to go through the musical alphabet in order, as if they were written on the normal staff. One aspect of the grand staff that can be very confusing is the idea of middle C. Middle C is represented both on the first ledger line below the treble staff and the first ledger line above the bass staff. This is exactly the same note written in two different places. It would be the same sound. If you're playing a keyboard, it would be the exact same key on the keyboard. Once you continue past middle C, you will end up on the opposite staff. Both of these B notes would be the same sound. Again, if you were playing a piano or a keyboard, it would be the same key on the keyboard. Because of this, there could be two correct ways to accurately write notes on the grand staff. If you write the letters in order starting on the bass staff, One way to continue would be to cross over onto the treble staff. The other way would be to continue on the bass staff, but to extend the bass staff by using ledger lines.